Hello! Today we are talking about a very important topic. If you want to own your own home, whether it's a flat or a house, this probably a bit more leaning towards flats. However, everything I'm going to talk about mostly also will apply to houses. Just, investing into the housing market in the UK. I have a lot to share because I've talked to many people over the last 2 years. Yes, this is how long I've been doing my research. And every time I speak to somebody who's been through the process of buying a house or a flat, I ask them questions. So in the title, you've seen how many pieces of advice I have. I actually don't know yet because I'm just starting this video. But let's just begin. So, I have a little cat arrival here. I don't know if he's gonna join us. Okay, so one of the things I would like to share with you, if you haven't heard, be very careful with Come on. You wanna say hello? Wait, I'll show you. Okay, it's not very good, is it? Come on, you want to say hello? Hello! I love cats. Okay, this is Slinky, by the way. So, what you need to know is do not trust agents. Okay, maybe you find one or two, or maybe you know somebody, a friend of yours. Obviously, not everyone. Oh, he's getting comfortable. It's so sweet. You're joining in. It's so sweet. Okay. But generally speaking, be very careful, because what I've noticed that most questions that I've asked have not been answered or have not been answered truthfully. And what I mean by have not been answered is that when I ask a question, the agent would refer to what they have on a piece of paper, or basically what's already on the profile. Well, if I'm coming prepared to this, then I already know what's on the profile. So if I'm asking you something, then I'm asking you something that's not on the profile. That's what I would always recommend, come prepared. But a lot of the time, they do not know beside that profile. They just show you the room just like anyone could, and when you ask any questions that are not on the profile, they just don't know. But sometimes they will find out for you, which is great. Those are the better ones. And sometimes they will just brush over your question. Like, for example, I asked about lease, and they would say a lease extension is between 2 and 10,000. Now the truth is, the highest lease extension I've seen was 50k. So between 2 and 10k is obviously not correct. It just depends. I don't know all the factors it depends on, but it does just depend. So you really have to be careful. But so this can go into number 2, that you have to be very careful about lease. So my friends have said, don't buy a place with a lease below 100 years. Now, then I spoke to another friend who said, well, sometimes it might be worth it, because if a place is not as easy and you have to put some legwork in, and by not as easy, I mean the lease is lower and you have to organize getting the lease extended, then sometimes it's worth it. So what I've seen, like the lowest lease was like 6 or something that I've seen, and the highest lease I've seen is 999. And then there's also something, another piece of advice, number 3, that is called share of freehold. So share freehold means that, let's say this is a property with 4 flats, and then the 4 flat owners share freehold. So that means there's not a separate entity who owns the freehold and then you pay ground rent, you own it. So there can be pros and cons about this, which I'm not going to go into today, but I think that's something also to find out specifically if you are interested in a place. Who are the other freeholders? How do they do things? How do they organize themselves? Another piece of advice I would like to give if you're not sure about where you want to buy is just to go out and about and discover new areas. And one way to do it is by bike, because I often feel that being on a bus or in a car or on a train, you only see so much because they are going fast. And if you are going by foot, then you often just don't cover a big area because you're so slow. So using a bike, and there's so many places where you can rent bikes these days, so maybe you have a friend who will give it to you. It'll give you the opportunity to just explore. Another thing I've learned is that every agency will try to get you in touch with their mortgage broker, and they pretend that they're doing that for you, but the truth is they're doing that for themselves. The reason they want you to sign up or speak to their mortgage broker is because that way they can find out exactly what your top budget is, and then they can sell you on that. They're gonna try to push that price on you. Speak to local estate agents in the area that you want to buy at. So this is when you have narrowed down where you want to buy. If you are really sure where exactly you want to buy, go in and speak to the actual person, because even though I know we live in a world where we can do anything and everything online, but there is something to it to introduce yourself, look somebody in the eye, shake their hand. They know you're an actual person who actually wants to buy, and you're not just some random person of the internet. And if you're lucky, they might show you something that comes in before it even goes online. So this is the power of connections. Stay in the neighborhood. Maybe don't just go for a bike ride, but rent an Airbnb or stay with friends who are in that area. Get a better day-to-day impression. Same goes with if you have a specific place that you might want to buy. See that place at different times of the day. Don't just go and decide to buy it. See it in the morning, see it at night, what sort of people are hanging about in that area, that sort of thing. Check the council tax in the area where you want to buy. Be aware how much is council tax, A, B, C, D. It's very easy to find out. You just go online, you go to that council, you find out how much it is. Why would you want to do that? Well, you will have to pay this every single year, and chances are that it will go up eventually, and you want to know what you're going to pay. Same with the service charge and the ground rent, if there is any. Make sure that you're happy with that number, because chances are that number will go up over time. Little hint, places that are very fancy, that might have a pool or a gym, their service charge is usually significantly higher than other places. EPC rating. EPC is about how well the house is insulated, how well you can keep the heat in the house. There is a website where you can specifically check. The higher the rating, the better. So A, B is like the best, and then C is still okay, and then below that, yeah, it also kind of depends, because the chart always shows you where is the property right now and what potential does the property have. So that's also very important if you're happy to invest into the property as time goes on, because some properties you can change the EPC rating and some you cannot. So that's why it's important to look into that. You can check the crime rate of a place online, although I must warn you, if you look into any London boroughs, almost anywhere the rate is kind of high. I think it's kind of hard to tell sometimes. That's the sort of thing I think it's easier if you speak to people or if you spend time in the area just to make your own impression. But you can also check numbers online. You can also check council estates online. Also very important, if you're not from that area, to find out what, let's say we're speaking about the London zones, what zone are you going to be in? How long are you traveling to work from there? How much are train tickets? Is there any way to save on that? Find everything out, because I hope you want to be at that place for a long time. When you speak to estate agents, never give them the exact top budget number. Always give them a range. Use Rightmove. I first downloaded Rightmove and Zoopla. However, to be honest, very rarely you find different ones that you don't find on the other. Most of the time you find the exact same thing on both apps. And Rightmove is a bit quicker, I would say a bit better. So if you just want to simplify your life, just go with Rightmove and set some alerts. But my piece of advice, don't drive yourself mad. Give yourself at least a couple of months. I don't know what situation you are. Maybe you need a place ASAP, but it's not good anywhere in life, whether you want to find a partner, whether you want to find a job. If you're desperate, you're not in a good position. Maybe find a way to buy yourself time if you don't have time. Maybe rent somewhere, maybe stay with friends. Find a solution, because this is a long-term decision and you should really have some time. And back to the other piece of advice, don't drive yourself mad. Little side story that I experienced, because I sort of drove myself mad. When we started looking, I downloaded those apps and I was on those apps every night until after midnight, and I was just looking and clicking and looking, and I drove myself crazy. And the problem with that, you lose clarity. So what I did is I deleted the apps, all of them, and I didn't look at them for a couple of days. Eventually what I did is I set alerts, specific alerts, so that I wouldn't go into the app and randomly scroll, but I would just look at my emails, at the alerts that I've set, the specifications that I've put in, so that I'm only looking at what's relevant to me. I guess it's kind of like going to a supermarket and you follow your list and you're not drifting off left, right and everywhere looking at everything. Then another piece of advice, if you're just starting to look, is just go to some viewings. Just randomly go to some viewings, because you need to start learning by doing. And what I mean by that is, when you first go to your viewings, you will learn how to interact with those agents, learn to be confident asking questions. You will notice that most places you see online, they take the pictures in a way that the place looks way bigger than it is. So a place could look massive on a photo, but then when you go, you realize, wow, it's way smaller. And then when you understand those numbers, you can look at the floor plans and you realize, this is kind of like the place I saw the other day, and you get a feeling. Don't let agents pressure you. Also, if you know where you want to buy and you are very specific, it can still happen that it takes a long time. I have friends, I think they looked at 100 places. I said to them, I'm really worried that maybe the agents don't take me seriously if I look at too many places. And they said, well, they did it too, and you shouldn't feel bad for it, because you want to invest in the right place for you. They might also sometimes say things where you don't know if it's true. Like, for example, I saw a place that I wanted to see and that I was quite curious about, and I rang up and I didn't really have time to see it in the next 2 weeks, and I said to the agent, do you think I should really try to squeeze it in? And obviously she said, oh, I had another 5 people calling about specifically this place today, you should definitely come. And you know what, this could be true and this could not be true, and it also depends on what sort of market you're in, because right now we are more a buyer's market. The truth is, that specific property is still on the market today, and I spoke to her months ago and the price has gone down. If a property is very desirable, can it go fast? Yes, it can go very fast. Now that I've looked at so many places, in person and also online, I can sort of tell which places will go fast, but you need to get a feeling for that. When I was really worked up about a place that I thought was the right place, but it turned out it wasn't, she said, if you don't get it, it wasn't your place. Eventually you will get your place. This is just something I often remind myself of. If I'm not able to go to a viewing today because I'm not in town or I'm at work or whatever, I just remind myself, speak to anyone you know who's ever bought a house. Even if it's years ago, you will always learn something, even if it's just one little thing. Just go out, speak to people, ask loads of questions, and then sometimes make a crazy offer. Don't do it all the time because you don't want to be known as a person who always undercuts crazy. But a friend of mine told me a story of how years ago she saw a flat and she wanted to buy it, but she only had a certain amount of money, and she put this offer in, and the agent basically laughed at her, and he was like, I'm not even going to tell the person about this offer. And then 5 months later, she get a phone call saying, do you want to buy this place? And she didn't, because her life moved on and things changed and she didn't want to buy it anymore. But you know, sometimes take a risk. Just be brave and risk to embarrass yourself. It might just work out. I hope you took something from this video. Let me know in the comments below which piece of advice really helped you. And please, please, please let me know in the comments if you have a piece of advice for me, because I always want to learn more.